in southern Israel with the latest on the fighting. Well, I'd like to bring in now Abdallah Al-Junaid. He's a Bahraini columnist and geopolitical analyst. Great to have you with us, Abdallah. I'm sorry you weren't able to join us sooner, but I hope you heard that discussion we were having about the future for Gaza, the various proposals that are being talked about, notably this one from the Saudis about exiling the Hamas leadership to Algeria. Your thoughts, please.
Well, good evening, Laura, and to your guest. I've catched up on a little bit on the discussion. So far, it is a speculative issue and not something that came through one of the Saudi official channels. So would it be, as an observer, something that we could live with? I mean, the region live with? Probably it could. Would Israel make the first move? Let's hope so. 3, is that the reason why the United States is delaying the voting on the what the UAE proposed for end day of this war? That's again is a game changer. So all of that put together will definitely hopefully will encourage Israel to take a step somewhere.
Well, Abdallah, I was wondering, are you encouraged hearing Taki Hadnegbi, Israeli officials, saying that, you know, the PA could rule Gaza, but it will have to be substantially reformed? Is that progress in your view?
Listen, we can't go and do some sort of a thing like it's have to be reformed first and then play a part. What we need now, some sort of an official, legitimate representation that the region could deal with and hold it responsible. The PA is the only authority that is recognized by the whole world as the sole representative, including Israel. So as part of rehabilitating the PA or anybody else, let's test them on the ground, see exactly what they're going to produce according to a plan formulated regionally and agreed upon by Israel and PA and the rest of the region.
Thank you, Abdallah. Hi, Sam, can I bring you in? Because this kind of brings us on neatly to a piece that you've written in the New York Post, kind of rebutting an idea that has been going around that Hamas cannot be defeated because Hamas is an idea. Can you just elaborate on that a bit more?
Yes, basically the piece centered around Hamas is the military wing of the Muslim Brotherhood, and in the past decade, Egypt and other moderate Sunni countries in the region invested the time in eradicating that inside Egypt and even tried to eradicate it regionally as well. Today, the group, the Egyptian Muslim Brotherhood, doesn't have any presence on the ground inside Egypt, and it's only a bunch of guys sitting in the diaspora crying on Twitter. So why can't Israel do the same thing today with Hamas? By getting rid of Hamas, we accomplish 3 things, and this is what I argued in the piece. 1, make Israel's southern border safe and ensure October 7th never happens again. 2, liberate Palestinians from the terror group that hijacked their destiny for the past 16 years. Just this past July, young Gazans went out to the street protesting the bad conditions under Hamas rule, and Hamas oppressed them heavily by force. 3, there is a possibility to connect Gaza and the West Bank in the future, and then the 2-state solution could be revived. So it's a win-win for everybody. And not to mention also a 4th point that just came into my mind, it's a win also for the moderate Arab camp in the region. Hamas has been a proxy for Iran. Iran has been using it. So Israel is offering the moderate Arab camp a chance to chop one of Iranian fingers in the region. Why shouldn't Arabs provide Israel the political coverage and support to continue that operation?
Hi, Sam. Thank you. Eric Mandel, I mean, you've got an Israeli prime minister who says he's the only one who can prevent a Palestinian state. I mean, when the leadership is saying things like that, it makes it very difficult for negotiations to move forward, doesn't it?
Well, the idea of bringing up a Palestinian state now seems a little ludicrous considering what's going on. The PA is corrupt. The Hamas is a terrorist organization. The PA its education system has brain brainwashed generations against Israel's right to exist, and much of it is purely anti-Semitic against Jews. So there's no legitimate part for a two-state solution. What I would advise the Prime Minister is to say say a state could be possible. Going back to what he said at Bar Ilan back maybe 15 years ago, he could say if it's a demilitarized state, recognizes Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state, signs an end of conflict agreement that there is no, you cannot say that you didn't agree to everything here. He says that will be a basis to bring that, and then they create rule of law, freedom of press, some of the other things that are basic to bring in here. But when you say it, I'm totally against the Palestinian state, and you're a regional power, but you're not the superpower of the United States. I think it's counterproductive. Lloyd Austin, when he said that this war is about the center of gravity, I'm quoting him, is about the civilians in this war. This war, and the United States will get this wrong, the center of gravity of this war is Iran. And the center of gravity of this war is radical Islamism and if you could destroy Hamas, and that's why America should be supporting Israel, its indispensable ally here, that you have to destroy, this is the way you destroy radical Islamism. And so that's really how this has to be viewed. This is not about civilians, it's about radical Islamism in Iran.
Abdullah, do you agree with that?
Unfortunately not. I mean, for us, definitely Iran, in best interest is one thing, is to continue aiding the destability or destabilization of this region. And as long as this issue, the Palestinian-Israeli issue, is dragging its feet by every prime minister, we've seen some who've been courageous and took the right steps. But I will draw your guest attention to not my words, but what he said. I mean, physically, he said, as a Palestinian state is going to be almost on my dead body. And he fought for the last 16 years, him being in power, making sure that doesn't take place. And if you want to blame somebody, let Israel as well, and this particular prime minister, share the blame in the blood of October 7, because he was financing and aiding Hamas since 2018 until today. Is he going to be, held responsible by the Israelis? It's not the Iranian, just the Iranian, but everybody who managed to aid and finance Hamas should be made accountable. And to start with, we can't reform the PA in a matter of a week or two. We need to select a few bureaucrats, Palestinians, who have the knowledge of Gaza and its people, and have them represent the Palestinian administration. But we can't just go off and refusing everything because we want to reform its education. What about what the ultra right-wing settlers Jewish movement say about the Arabs? Have you heard what they've been saying about Palestinians and the Arabs? It is anti-Arab.
What would you say about Qatar? What would you say about Qatar? They are the financiers of Hamas.
Everybody who financed Hamas should be held responsible. Qatar or anybody else, including your prime minister and everybody who stood.
I'm an American. I'm not an Israeli.
Well, fair enough. Then put your head more in reading the area more clearly and pass judgment based on that.
Eric, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I think we have to take a step back and always put these things in context. Israel, up until October 7th, didn't think this was an existential threat, and it's turned out to be an existential threat. And it's not about, as my administration says, about two states for two peoples, because the Palestinians could have had a state in 1949 or 67 or 2000, 2001, 2007. I had a discussion with President Clinton about it in 2001. It's about what really needs to happen is an acceptance of a Jewish state that it represents under 1% of all the land within this region to be accepted as legitimate. And the Palestinian people have not accepted that. And when I travel in the Middle East, throughout the Gulf. What I hear quietly off the record is they are not so enamored with the Palestinians, but their street is. And because they're basically have not, I think, put this in context of what's there. So yes, are there radical Israelis? Absolutely, but it is not representative of the Israeli populace. And again, Israel is the only democracy here. It's the only one that can have an election to kick out Prime Minister Netanyahu, which they probably will at the first chance they get.
Abdallah, if you could just respond, and then I'd like to get back to Haitham if possible.
Listen, the issue of politics as usual. For me, if you ask me my personal opinion, I will take all radicalism, Islamist, from Jewish, Christian, Hindus, and everything, put them on a Titanic and sink them in the deepest spot in the whole, in one of the oceans. What we need is to stay focused. We want a different Middle East. Then we start, instead of blaming the Palestinian, and I will draw you back again to what Benjamin Netanyahu said, and it is recorded and it is validified, and it is on YouTube. It was his words. It's not a matter of missed opportunities and chances. Yes, there was. But at the present time, what we need to do is to stop the bloodshed and start thinking about different approaches. And one unified Middle East will dictate that this issue of Palestinian-Israeli conflict is to be ended one way or the other. For us, whatever the Palestinian, if they want a state or one state to identities, whatever they want. But we need this to be over. And then I can assure you, as strong as we stood against a new nuclear deal to be signed with between Iran and the US, collectively, everybody played a role. Israel, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and the rest of the GCC country, and we forced a stop to that process. Now, this is the region I'm talking about, is to collectively stand for each other.
All right, Abdallah, thank you. Haitham, very briefly, if you could just kind of respond to what you've heard.
Yeah, I think 2 points I want to raise. The first point is, as for the Israelis, they are hurt and they need to find some moderate voices from the Arab world that stand by their side in such critical times. That condemns Iran, that condemns Hamas, and condemns radicalization in the region, and acknowledge that they are really fighting terrorism, not fighting resistance. As for the Arabs, I think one thing also they want to hear from the Israelis is that Israel has to provide a proposal for the future. And what do you have on the table for the future of Gaza? Obviously, the challenges for the Israelis, they are in the middle of the fight and they are in a wartime now, plus the emotional trauma they are experiencing because of what happened in October 7th. So it's very hard for them to brainstorm and think about the future, what could be happening to Gaza. And here comes the role of Washington. It should be the one mingling between the two sides, brainstorming with the Arab side, with the Israeli side, and trying to find the best possible outcomes for the future of the Palestinians, Gaza, the future of integration in the region, and peace and prosperity.
All right, Haitham Hassanain and Abdallah Al-Junaid over in Bahrain, and Eric Mandel, thank you very much indeed. We're going to take a very short break. When we come back, well, Hamas has rejected outright an offer by Israel to stop the fighting for a week in exchange for dozens of hostages. Hamas says nothing short of a permanent ceasefire will see those hostages freed. We'll have that and the latest on the fighting in Gaza after the break. Stay with us.